The Nigerian government has announced plans to launch a vehicle finance scheme that's going to help Nigerians own brand new cars. This is part of a 5-point comprehensive program of the National Automotive Industry Development Plan, which is aimed at promoting local production of vehicles and their parts. This disclosure was made by the Director General of the NADDC, the National Automotive Design and Development Council, Mr. Ugo Aliogo, who explained that under the scheme, individuals with a sustainable source of income will be able to acquire their choice of vehicle by depositing just 10% of the total cost, and then the balance will be paid in monthly installments within a stipulated number of years. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Issa Pantami, has revealed plans by the federal government to replace the bank verification number, the BVN, with the National Identity Number, the NIN. This, as the ministry is collaborating with the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure citizens with BVNs are automatically provided with NINs. Joining me in the studio to discuss these stories is Ugo Aliogo, Public Affairs Analyst. Ugo, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with vehicle financing. I'd like to have a new car. Yeah. You'd like to have a new car. Obviously. So here comes the federal government telling us that if you have a sustainable income, put 10% down and finance the rest of the car over the number of months. What do you think?
The policy is good, but however, there are certain fundamentals we need to put in place. This is an economy where you don't have steady power.
Right.
So part of the policy is that they are going to bring in manufacturing companies, vehicle manufacturing companies from Europe, from America to Nigeria, and then they are going to bring in assembling companies.
Yes.
So you bring in an assembling plant, you don't have steady power. So what are these car manufacturing companies, what are they going to run on? It means that they are going to have generators, they are going to have power generating sets, and that's going to spike the cost of production.
Producing those cars.
The cost of producing those cars.
Right.
And then you also look at ease of doing business. What's the ease of doing business? This is an economy where you run on double taxation. So what is the tax like? Even for companies that are manufacturing in Nigeria, that are producing in Nigeria, when they finish producing, they sell these products to us ×2.
Right.
Because of the cost of production, they don't have steady power. The taxation is very high.
Right.
And then there are certain things in terms of ease of doing business that government has to put in place. Government has not been able to address. So the cost will now be, the burden will now be on the masses.
Right, I understand what you're saying. Okay.
And then we need to revitalize our steel company, the Ajaokuta Steel Company, to meet our steel consumption.
Right.
Ajaokuta Steel was built in the 80s by Nigerian government, by the federal government. If that steel company is in full production, it's able to generate 10 million metric tons of steel. That's enough for us to meet our steel demand in terms of rail infrastructure, in terms of motoring, and then also to export to the international market. Now that we have African Continental Free Trade, we can present that. It's an area we have comparative advantage. We have iron ore. Why don't we allow the private sector to take over some of these things and then invest in these sectors?
That's my next question. I was going to ask you this, and thank you, very well said. The vehicle financing program, 3 years, well, this is 2021. So 4 years ago, Vice President Osibanjo, when he was acting as acting president when President Buhari was overseas getting healthcare, signed 2 acts, right? Movable Registry, I think Collateral Registry Act, and also a Credit Reporting Act, which was supposed to allow more access to credit for Nigerians. So, I mean, that's already established. That was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
Right. So this program, wouldn't this program capitalize on that already, rather than announcing that you're starting up a vehicle financing program? You've already got 2 acts that's also allow SMEs to be able to, you register movable assets, and also a credit reporting act that allows banks and credit reporting agencies to get information on you and I and ordinary Nigerians who want to borrow. So I don't know. It doesn't look like there's much coordination between these
What the Shibanja has done was to create a legal framework.
Yes.
That's it. It creates a legal framework. To start with, for the banks and the credit registries to invest in all of these things, they need the social register of every Nigerian. We don't have social register, so we have challenge in that aspect. What the vice president has done at that stage was to create a legal framework to say, look, government is backing this. This is the legal framework backing this. Then the banking sector and the credit registry can say, okay, we can now look into this, looking at the legal framework that has already been established
in place.
But in earnest, we don't have the fundamentals. You don't have power. Your steel company is not in full production. Then you now look at raw material sourcing. Is it going to be 90% locally sourced and 10% foreign sourced? What's the framework? What's the plan in that regard?
Right.
This initiative is good, it's beautiful, it's working in other economies. It can work in Nigeria, but we need those fundamentals to be in place.
Structures.
We need those structures to be in place. We don't have social register. These things have to be in place.
Okay, great. Now that you've mentioned the social register, let's talk about Dr. Issa Pantami, Minister of Digital Economy, right?
Yes.
Where he's saying that the NINs will replace the BVNs, national identity numbers will replace the bank verification numbers. Ugo, after everything we went through to get BVNs, the deadline, remember the deadlines, you have to go to your bank and register.
Exactly.
Now they want to... So are you saying a social register supersedes all this? Or is the NIN going to be the database? Is the NIN going to be the social register that you're talking about? You
don't need to use NIMs to replace BVN. That's people driving on a confused path or agenda.
Right.
BVN stands for bank inclusion. It's for bank inclusion. It stands on its own. CBN set it up. There was a reason why it was set up. Allow it to pursue the goal why it was established. Then the NIMs should be on its own. The first thing government is supposed to do was to look at how we can build social register. And then you work with the telcos, you work with the banks to get the database of Nigerians. If you can't build a social register because of the time factor. But normally, you're supposed to have a social register in a sane economy, in a running economy, a working economy, like in the developed world. They have social register of everyone that comes to that country and everyone that lives. We need to have social. It's not too big to ask. It's not something difficult. We need to set up a framework. Then we build social register. And then we can now get the data of every Nigerian. You don't need to replace it. There's no point.
Okay, right. Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, so, well, to the credit of the government, they did finally allow the telcos to take the lead on the NIN. So, what do you make from the conversation of financial inclusion? Data registry. Should the telcos be running these types of programs? Should it be the telcos taking the lead? Since so many people have phones, cell phones, and so on, as far as data registry and so on and so forth, should they be taking the lead on this?
To a large extent, you bring in the telcos to partner with you.
Okay.
And then they will now take a large chunk of the responsibility because they have been able to onboard a large majority of Nigerians. And then because they've been able to onboard a large majority of Nigerians, they have their data. So they should take the lead. They should take a large chunk of the responsibility. Government provides the framework. And then there should be maybe a legal framework or a legal backing to say, okay, we are backing what you are doing. This is the law we are backing. This is the bill. This is what we are doing to back you. Government provides the framework. And then allow the telcos to take the lead. They can do these things better. And then they can get accurate data because they already set up a framework to get the data of Nigerians.
For everybody. Does this end here? Do we end all data talk or of identification? Does it end with the NIN? Or do you think there's something on the horizon that they will introduce again? Or are we finally, is this it? Do we just finally say, okay, we face the NINs, we get it done, and then everybody starts just going with this? Does it end here? Or
well, if you ask me, I'll tell you there's no clarity of purpose yet.
Okay.
At the stage where we're saying NIN, that's the stage. So we don't know what government wants to unfold in the coming days. So if you ask me, I'll tell you there's no clarity of purpose.
Do you know your NIN by heart?
I don't know my NIN by heart.
Do you know your BVN by heart?
I don't know my BVN by heart.
The US Social Security number. People there know their Social Security number by heart. That is the one number they use for everything. But I'm struggling to see when we have a minute left, real quick, where can we get to a point where it's just one single number Nigerians use everywhere at some point in the future?
Yeah, we can get to that point.
We can get to that point.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, so we end on a note of optimism.
Yes. Thank you.
Public Affairs Analyst Ugo Aliogo. Very, very great discussion there on vehicle financing and, of course, national identification matters in Nigeria. Ugo, thank you so much for joining us.